Hello, hello, hello. This is my first video and an introduction to my YouTube channel called Seven Kings Metal. And the reason it is called Seven Kings Metal is because we will be discussing the importance of real money, which is gold and silver, not currency. And we will discuss the difference between currency and money and why money has endured and currency, specifically referred to as fiat currency, once it was taken off the gold standard. Around 1933, we know that they made it illegal to own gold, and the dollar bill was tagged or connected to and achieved or accomplished its worth and value as a substitute for the gold. That's why they call them silver certificates and gold certificates, because they were on the real money platform. So, in 1933, it was very interesting. They made a movie called The Wizard of Oz. And it was a very entertaining movie in its own right. But what we want to consider as we travel through the subject matter of what this channel will be speaking about, we want to speak about the public, the private, and the hidden. I'm going to discuss The Wizard of Oz in 1 second. But even if we look at the dollar bill, it has a public, a private, and a hidden. The hidden aspect of the dollar bill is its symbolism. When we look at the dollar bill, it has the pyramid, the eye, it has one world order, it has, in Latin, and it has other various symbols that we will get more further into as we build together and travel in this particular YouTube channel, Seven Kings Metal, dealing with the subject matter in the study of gold and silver and its importance in protecting yourself and ensuring yourself in these economically changing, complex time that we live in, and the unpredictability of the markets. Now, we had a bubble in 2008, which was the housing bubble. And that at that time was the largest transfer of wealth in the history of the United States and probably in the history of the world. And that was the subprime market crashing based upon, derivatives. And what is a derivative? Well, we will get more further into that, but just for this particular conversation, a derivative is just like you have M1, M2, M3, M4, M5. Now, the gold standard was pegged initially to the dollar. Now, when you take under Uniform Commercial Code and banking law, when you start to get into promissory notes, bills of exchange, these are derivatives that are monetary money, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so a derivative, remember, if you use opium, a derivative of opium is heroin, or actually first morphine, and then heroin, and then codeine. So each derivative is weaker than the original nature of the particular, or of the original nature of opium. but the derivatives become weaker and weaker. So the further away from the subject or the object that you get, the weaker the derivative. The derivatives of the product become, and that's the same thing in money. So the further you got away from gold, and then from the dollar pegged to the gold, and then from certificates, and then promissory notes and bills of exchange and all kinds of other receipts, including anything connected to this fiat currency, including your retirement funds, your 401ks, and all these things are derivatives. Further removed from the original thing of value, which was gold and silver, throughout history. Now back to the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz was Dorothy, if you remember, in 1933. And I'm just going to paraphrase, so to speak, the symbolism. This is what I want to speak to. So she went through a hurricane, and she ended up searching for the Wizard of Oz. Now she had to travel down the yellow brick road to find the Wizard of Oz. Now, the yellow brick road was symbolic of gold. The Wizard of Oz, Oz is OZ, ounces. So, the gold, the ounces, she needed to get to the original nature. So this is the same thing, because she was far removed in the world of derivatives. Now, she needed to get back in order to return home, which is the original nature. So she traveled down the yellow brick road, and along the way, she ran into, and not in their particular order, but she ran into the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion. And the Lion, he was a coward. The Tin Man, he didn't have a heart. The Scarecrow was a dummy. Now let's look at these archetypical expressions. Archetypical means to be an example of. For example, the straw man is the dummy corporation. The Tin Man is the tax identification numbers that they gave us after this, and they gave us taxes. The Lion was that he was governed and ruled by fear. He was the public, the private, and the hidden. The Lion was governed by fear. The Scarecrow and the dummy, the Scarecrow was a dummy, like a dummy corporation or straw corporation. The Tin Man had no heart. He carried an axe, like the IRS. They don't care. If the IRS comes at you, everybody's scared. Ooh, the IRS. So, in 1913, they created the Federal Reserve. So these are some of the subject matters that we'll get into to cover, and hopefully you will get a better understanding of the private, the public, and the hidden. So this movie, The Wizard of Oz, was expressing, if you understand Dorothy, she traveled down the yellow brick road, and she came across an opium field, a poppy field, and she fell asleep. But then I believe the good witch came along and woke her up with snow, which is cocaine. So she went to sleep with the heroin. They woke her up with the cocaine. What many of us really may not have thought about, but the war in Iraq was about the poppy fields. And a lot of the things that happened during the Contra War was about the cocaine. And the opium put her to sleep, the poppy field, but she was woke up with the cocaine. And when she got to the Wizard of Oz, Toto the dog pulled the curtain, and the Wizard of Oz was a little guy that had all these machines, which we will call the military industrial complex. He was running all this to rule the people through fear. And he was heartless with his tools and his axe and the Tin Man, the tax identification. And so these are just a brief rundown on what the channel, some of the things that the channel would be talking about.